Hi, folks. This is Mark Smith and Angie Bond with Family Tree Life Coaching. And we have been AWOL for just a little while. I've been over-functioning and busy. Angie, have you been over-functioning and busy or just busy?
I'm just busy. I'm trying to not overfunction. So it's kind of the deal here.
Cool. I've been under-functioning some too. So I'm a weird mix of under-functioning and over-functioning. However, we are back and we have a good video today that gets into the causes, the underlining causes of over-functioning. And we're calling the video, What Drives Over-Functioning? Before we jump into the material, though, Angie wanted to sort of catch you up with her life and her calling as a life coach and what she's up to. And she's also then going to sort of redefine overfunctioning for those who haven't watched some of our previous videos. So what's been going on with you, Angie?
I've been in a relationship for a few years now, and we've a long distance, by the way, and a classic overfunctioner, underfunctioner relationship. So it's been super fun at times. Um, we've worked through a lot, and the opportunity has arisen that I am probably going to be spending 75% of my time away from my home state and with him, and 25% of my time still in Tennessee. So it's Indiana, Tennessee. So hopefully I can schedule my time in Tennessee when it's cold in Indiana and not cold in Tennessee would be my goal.
That sounds good.
But what that is going to allow me to do is hopefully open my schedule up to focus more on life coaching and relationship coaching and hopefully some writing. So, yeah, and I have been working in my little bit of spare time that I have on my website, and that is makebetterchanges.com. So you can read a little bit about me. I mean, it's not fully fleshed out yet, but it is operational. My contact information is on there. If you want to book a session, you can do that there.
Makebetterchanges.com.
Yes.
Cool. Well, congratulations on it. Sounds like you've been building an interdependent relationship. Mm-hmm. And that's going so well that you're moving forward into, more commitment. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. It is. It's a process, still growing every day.
Yeah. So redefine overfunctioning for those who don't maybe know exactly what that means.
All right. Well, it will sound familiar to you if you're an overfunctioner. Overfunctioning is doing things for other people that they really should be doing for themselves. If you're a mom, it might be you told your kids to clean their room and they didn't, and so you find yourself in there cleaning it anyway, just so it's done. Maybe you're having company over, but if they're fully capable of doing what you've asked them to do, and you're doing it anyway, and they're sitting on the couch, watching TV or on their iPad, you're overfunctioning. And that's true for not only moms and children, but in relationships in general.
At work, too.
Yes, at work. Mm-hmm. Picking up the slack for other people. And in the end, it kind of makes your schedule hectic and, stresses you out when you really should be able to let other people take control of their responsibilities and not stress out over that.
Hard to do sometimes.
It definitely is.
Yeah. One thing I use to describe overfunctioners is I've worked with them when they're 28 and I've worked with them when they're 68, and every one of them are old. It makes you sort of old in your spirit.
Yes, it does.
Exhausted.
Very tired. Yes.
Yeah.
And usually you just want somebody to come along and take care of you. But at least that's what you think you want.
Yeah. But then you attract underfunctioners, so that's a dilemma.
Right.
So, okay. Anything else you wanted to say about overfunctioners before we get into the underlying causes?
I think that's about it. Just, take some self-reflection sometime. And well, I guess, something that kind of drives it from an early age is if you've had any kind of abandonment issues, oftentimes that will drive you to kind of find the need to take care of yourself when maybe you don't really have to, or you shouldn't have to. And so that kind of sets you up for overfunctioning for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Typically, they tend to be older kids with the siblings, oldest, second oldest, but they could really come from any of the family positions. But if there's a bunch of kids and it's the oldest daughter, just mark it down. She's probably going to be roped into helping to raise the younger kids. And then also if there's addiction with the parents or incompetency in any area by one or both, then that overfunctioner starts to pick up the slack, from very early on.
Mm-hmm.
Slack
Right.
picker uppers. So, okay, well, I'm going to let you just talk about. You've been doing some research online, and I think you've come up with a really brilliant concept here that as soon as I saw it, I knew it was true.
Mm-hmm.
And you say anxiety is the driver of both overfunctioning and underfunctioning. So I've got some comments about that. I'm going to wait until you're done. So
Okay.
what are your thoughts about anxiety driving these things?
Okay. Well, you said, I was doing research because it's one thing to recognize yourself as an overfunctioner or even an underfunctioner, but it's like, okay, well, now what? How do I fix this? What made me this way and what continues, even if you recognize that you are over or under functioning, what continues to make you do that? Well, I ran across an article that talks about that anxiety is the driver of that. And if you're an overfunctioner, you get anxious when you're not in control or you don't know what the outcome will be. You're constantly trying to plan ahead and make sure everything goes smoothly. Usually you're a worrier. I come from a long generation of worriers. My grandmother was a worrier. So I'm pretty sure she instilled that in me. So, no matter how much we worry or how anxious we are about a situation, there really is very little that we can actually do to control the situation. So, as an overfunctioner, you have got to kind of just recognize what you can do to control a situation or to have a positive outcome, have a nice family life or a good relationship. But you also have to recognize that being anxious about something that is completely out of your control is not healthy for you or for your loved ones.
Right.
Do you want to say something about that? You want me to say something about the underfunctioner?
What's the serenity prayer?
God help me to accept the things I know. To change the things
change the things I can change.
Yeah, and accept those that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference.
So that sort of goes to your point right there, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, on the flip side of that, an underfunctioner tends to not want to take responsibility. The exact opposite. Tends to be anxious when they are forced to take responsibility or forced to make decisions. So, they will then, instead of making decisions, they'll be anxious about it. The overfunctioner will be anxious about not having control. Underfunctioners anxious about having to have control. And that's why they pair up so well together.
Yeah. So the underfunctioner looks for an overfunctioner to carry their worry.
Yes. Okay. Well, or carry, I don't think, do they worry? Do underfunctioners worry?
They have anxiety, but they hand it off to the overfunctioner, and then they sleep like a baby, and you're sitting there with 2 people or 10 people's anxiety and not sleeping so well.
Right. Yes. I've done that really well with my kids because I'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and worry about, oh, did they make their car payment? Or, and they're adults. They're not,
Yeah.
and I am pretty darn sure they're fast asleep. So
Yeah, they're not worried about it.
they are.
Yeah. Huh.
But, as, for overfunctioners, when they're dealing with the underfunctioner, their greatest desire is for the underfunctioner to change their behavior. And they want them to change their behavior so that we aren't stressed out. So I would rather, my son, have paid I would know that he paid his car payment so that I, in turn, wouldn't have to worry about it, which I really shouldn't be worrying about that in the first place.
Yeah.
Just an interesting dynamic. So you're wanting other people to change to help you feel better, when really the only person that's going to make you feel better is you. You're the only person that can change to make you feel better.
And that's the ironic thing about that dynamic. As you let go of the other person's anxiety, then it's up for grabs again. And they might then sense that you have detached from it, and they might reach out and grab hold of their own responsibility. So you getting better, oddly enough, gives them a chance to get better.
Exactly. Right. A lot of times, even if you think helping somebody by overfunctioning, you're really not giving them the opportunity to grow.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a great way. I think probably for an overfunctioner, that's the best way to think about it is, you are helping them by not doing these tasks or not worrying.
It's hard though, isn't it? It goes against your nature.
It
Like
is.
there's a part of you that really wants to kiss the boo-boo and pay the bill and make it better.
Right. Right. Yes, it's difficult, but like I said, it's a process. It's not, once you recognize it and start and continue to keep recognizing it in your daily life, then it's easier to kind of put that into a category and say, well, I really don't have to do that. They're fully capable of doing that, and have the conversation. And then the conversation then needs to incorporate boundaries. If you're really serious about getting healthier, you have to set boundaries with other people and with yourself.
Yeah. And a boundary is shared ahead of time pleasantly.
Mm-hmm.
And a boundary is very clear, and there's always a consequence.
Correct.
And so either they're going to honor the boundary, or they're going to be receiving a consequence that in some way benefits you or protects you.
Right.
So,
or puts it back into your control. Like I was thinking, for instance, or what if you had a barbecue coming up and you wanted your husband to mow the yard by, Wednesday night, that way Friday night, the yard's nice for the barbecue. And if he's, notoriously not mowing in time, to say, hey, if you don't, the yard needs to be mowed by Wednesday night for our barbecue on Friday. But if you can't get it done by Wednesday, I will hire somebody to do it on Thursday. That way it's done. So it's not, and you're not nagging, but you're setting that expectation there, and they're free to choose, whether they're going to.
Or the other option would be, I'm going to allow it to look really long and straggly.
Right.
and people will sit there at the barbecue and they won't be looking at me. They might be looking at you, thinking, can't this guy cut his own grass when he had people over? I mean, that's a different kind of natural consequence.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So whether you want to protect yourself or let him have a consequence, the problem with natural consequences is you got to pay the toll too, sometimes
Yes.
with them.
Right.
So
Right. And I think if I hired somebody, it would hurt his pocket, as his
there you
wallet.
go. Oh, that's it. That's a good consequence.
See?
There you go. There
Depends on
you
what
go.
drives them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so, when you think about, if you're over functioning or even if you're under functioning, you want to think about, even write it down. Like, what are my roles in life? Am I a mom? Am I a friend? Am I a daughter? Am I an employee? What are my roles? And then within those roles, what are my responsibilities? And make sure those are your roles, your responsibilities that you're doing, not somebody else's.
It speaks to having a sense of self, knowing who you are. One of my definitions of a codependent is many times they're in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're centered and grounded and connected to yourself, you're always in the right place at the right time with the right people for the right reasons. And it feels good.
Right. It's hard to be there sometimes. It's hard to be quiet and grounded and know exactly where you need to be.
Isn't it true that it's like we can be anywhere? Many times we have discretion as to where to go, and our compass is in our belly, in our hearts,
Mm-hmm.
and the individuated person, they do the right things at the right time, and they're not caught
Mm-hmm.
up in somebody else's life, living somebody else's life.
Right.
You know,
I feel like, now that I'm in my mid 50s, it's like I was so busy, 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 busy for so many years. And now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I can pay attention, to where I've been, where I, am and where I'm going. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm so disappointed that I didn't do this earlier, which would have been great. However, it's never too late. And, I try not to look back at my life with regrets, certainly. And I thought it's all a learning process. I went through all of these things. So I am here now to heal myself and help heal others.
yeah. I think regret is a good emotion. It can bleed into shame, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not so good. But looking back and learning from mistakes, that's a good thing. Um, in terms of anxiety, I remember once uh, uh, we were moving from Lubbock, Texas to Great Falls, Montana, and we'd
Ooh.
gotten to about Denver. I remember seeing the majestic mountains around Denver, and we were middle of a snowstorm, and my mother was supposedly praying Hail Marys, but her voice was filled with anxiety and terror. We were in a Volkswagen bus, and I remember laying on the ground, bathed in anxiety and terror. And it's like she knew she was a little kid in a snowstorm driving six other kids, across the country. And she
Mhm.
was out of her depth a lot. And so she was freaking out. And that need for order and that feeling of chaos can cause not just anxiety, but just sheer and utter terror.
Mhm.
And you want to consciously or unconsciously, as an adult, you want to go out of your way to not have chaos in your life, because it's terror and anxiety is what it feels like.
Yes, yes. I thrive on order and knowing what's next and knowing what's coming. It isn't always an option, but and that's where it's good to kind of just learn to sit with yourself and just be comfortable, where you are and in that moment, and all the other moments will take care of themselves.
Yeah. It's really the recovery process is feeling your pain, getting in touch with your own needs for a change.
Mm-hmm.
There's this old joke on codependency where a codependent goes on vacation and they rent a really nice convertible. Let's say they get a Corvette, one of those new Corvettes, except convertible, and they're tooling down Route 1, by the ocean on the rocks, and they get a little carried away with themselves and they speed, and they're plunging off the side of the cliff to their death, and somebody else's life passes before them instead of their own life, because they've been busy. The codependents never laugh at that joke. It's the
I was trying to follow. I'm like, what? How is that? What are you saying, Mark?
well, I think that overfunctioning is a form of counterdependency, but it's also a form of codependency.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And as recovering overfunctioners, even those of us who don't see ourselves as a codependent, we sort of are doing codependent stuff.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, as a young mother, I was very controlling of where my children were. I didn't like them driving long distances with anybody else, things like that. And now that I'm ready to leave the nest where they're all living, they're kind of like, what? But, I've gotten to the point where, it's going to be okay. They'll be okay. They're adults. They're living their adult lives. And, we can visit, but it's definitely a process.
You're leaving home. You're growing up and leaving home. And it's a healthy thing. Something that for overfunctioners they rarely do. They never have the thought, how can I make this easier on myself?
Right.
What they think is, how do I get it done right and quickly?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people in life, it's surprising to you and I, but their thought a lot of times is, how can I make this easier on myself? Mm-hmm. Which is a healthy thought to have.
Yeah.
Really.
Which is exactly the conversation I had when I told them I was moving. I'm like, look, I have been a single mom. I have, worked full-time and part-time jobs to take care of you. And this move would alleviate the need for me having to work all that much. And I can pursue finally my dreams.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah. So really the recovery process is getting in touch with your pain, with your, what we call inner child, and to really start practicing loving yourself and taking good care of yourself. So this move sort of represents to you an opportunity to stop being in a position to be available for so many people to do for them, and to give you the space and freedom to really nurture and take care of yourself and make some of your dreams come true.
Right. It does.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Part of my overfunctioning is every time I make a video, I think it has to be 45 minutes long. And Angie has voiced a request to make it reasonably long. So did you have anything else you wanted to add, Angie, before we wrap up? I feel like we've covered the topic pretty thoroughly.
I think that's it. But just a reminder, if you want to get in touch with me at makebetterchanges.com, all my contact info is there. I would love to work with you, whether it's a work relationship, a family relationship, a couple relationship. You just need guidance in your own life. I am here as a coach, and I would love to help.
Yeah, and many times in recovery, the best healer is one of your own kind.
Right.
And if you do recognize yourself as a classic overfunctioner, probably middle-age-ish female, although there are overfunctioning males in a different way, I would encourage you to get a hold of Angie, and she can coach you from her own experience. And if you're going through something, she's probably been through it 50 times. So she can reference back her experience and then give you some encouragement and some wisdom in how to deal with your recovery process.
Right. Pretty soon we can make TikTok videos.
Cool. How long do those last?
Very short, like maybe 45 seconds.
Okay. We'll have to work on our funniness.
Right.
Being more funny. I think I'm capable of it, but we'll have to. That'll be quite a change from our normal style. But thank you everybody for watching. I hope that this has spoken to you, and as soon as you get a chance, get a hold of Angie and reach out and get some help that will it really could change your whole life for the better.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
God bless.